I'm any new province, and this is Net Benefits, the series where we explore the benefits of net decking in Pauper. This week we're playing Blue-Red Flicker, or more specifically the Blue-Red Flicker list that Kung Fu Trees took to a top 4 finish in the Pauper Challenge this weekend, though they credit this deck list to Janice Stone, who's won tons of 5-0 leagues with it on Magic Online. Before I get into the deck tech, I just want to remind you that you can like the video or subscribe to the channel down below. I'd seriously appreciate it. It's a great way to let me know you're enjoying everything, and it really encourages me to keep making great Pauper content. I also want to let you know that Kung Fu Trees has a deck tech for this deck and his challenge run posted on YouTube. I'll link that in the description down below as well. He's an amazing deck builder and pilot, so you should definitely check those out. Okay, so Blue-Red Flicker. This is a quintessential Izzet control deck. It gets its name from Archaeomancer, which costs 2 blue and says, when Archaeomancer enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. It's a 1/2 as well, so you can attack with it. It goes along with Ghostly Flicker, which costs 2 and a blue and says, exile 2 target artifacts, creatures, and or lands you control, then return those cards to the battlefield under your control. If one of the permanents you're flickering is Archaeomancer, you can get your Ghostly Flicker back and recur the enters the battlefield trigger from the other permanent you flickered. Once we get our combo rolling, we really don't want our opponent to disrupt it, and we also have to buy enough time to actually get our combo assembled. That's why we have some counter magic. First we have Dispel. It costs 1 blue and it says counter target instant spell. We're also running Counter Spell, which is just blue counter target spell. These next cards are the way that we plan to filter our draws or generate a little bit of card advantage. It's important that all of these effects are stapled onto bodies because they're also the way we're going to try to win the game. First we have Augur of Bolas, which costs 1 and a blue. It's a 1/3 and it says, when Augur of Bolas enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. You need a critical number of instants and sorceries to make Augur of Bolas truly busted, but we definitely run enough of those. It's also a 1/3, so we can get in the way of a lot of those stompy creatures early in the game. Next we have Seagate Oracle, which costs 2 and a blue and says, when Seagate Oracle enters the battlefield, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the other one on the bottom of your library. It's also a 1/3. Seagate Oracle is a great blocker like Augur of Bolas, but it provides a little more selection in which card you get to take. If we're just digging for land drops while we're stuck on 3, we can jam a Seagate Oracle and usually find one. This next card is the biggest draw to playing this deck. This is Mulldrifter. It costs 4 and a blue, it has flying, it's a 2/2, and it says, when Mulldrifter enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards. It has Evoke, 2 and a blue, which says, you may cast this spell for its evoked cost. If you do, it's sacrificed when it enters the battlefield. You can flicker this with its trigger on the stack, turning it into another divination while getting to keep the 2/2 body. Mulldrifter is one of my favorite cards in the entire Pauper format, and I am so stoked to get to play it this week. The rest of our card filtering and card draw isn't stapled onto a creature, so we can't kill our opponent with it, but it will take us a long way in winning the game. First we have Brainstorm, which costs 1 blue and says draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. This was recently printed in Masters 25, so there's been a lot of discussion as to whether this card is good or not. When you have it alongside enough shuffle effects like in our mana base or with an Augur of Bolas, you can actually turn a Brainstorm into something closer to an Ancestral Recall. Next we have Preordain, which costs 1 blue and it says scry 2, then draw a card. Preordain is a really powerful card on its own, letting you sometimes see up to 3 new cards. If you pair it alongside Brainstorm, you could put 2 lands back on top of your deck and then scry them to the bottom before drawing something brand new. Finally, we have Deep Analysis, which costs 3 and a blue and it says target player draws 2 cards. That's kind of unexciting on its own, but it also has Flashback. You can pay 1 blue and 3 life to play it again out of your graveyard before exiling it. Because we're spending a lot of time countering spells and drawing cards, we're going to have to do something to stop our opponent from stomping all over our faces. First we have Harvest Pyre, which costs 1 red, it's an instant, and it says, as an additional cost to cast Harvest Pyre, exile X cards from your graveyard. Harvest Pyre deals X damage to target creature. Because we have so many inexpensive cards in our deck, we'll be able to fill up our graveyard quite quickly, and Harvest Pyre should be able to kill something pretty huge. Next we have Flame Slash. It costs 1 red, it's a sorcery, and it says, Flame Slash deals 4 damage to target creature. This may not kill a Gurmag Angler, but it'll do the trick against just about anything else. This next card probably serves as a win condition sometimes. Maybe we can flicker 2 Archaeomancers to continuously buy it back. This is Lightning Bolt. It costs 1 red, and it deals 3 damage to target creature or player, but you probably already knew that. Next is Skred. Skred costs 1 red mana, it's an instant, and it says, Skred deals damage to target creature equal to the number of snow permanents you control. Sometimes Skred can come down and act as a Flame Slash, or it could be even better than a Harvest Pyre in some situations. This is just another versatile one-of to remove our opponent's board. Finally, we have Arc Lightning, which costs 2 in a red. It's a sorcery, and it says Arc Lightning deals 3 damage divided as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures or players. Its versatility is really what pays Arc Lightning for being in this deck. Even though it's only a 1-of, sometimes we can leverage it as a 2-for-1. Okay, let's talk about this mana base. First, we have Ash Barrens, which adds colorless mana, and it has basic land cycling 1, which means you can pay 1 mana, discard Ash Barrens, and go search your library for a basic land card. We also have 3 Evolving Wilds, which say tap, sacrifice Evolving Wilds, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. These cards are critical for making Brainstorm as powerful as it can be because they fix our mana while allowing us to shuffle our library. We have 4 Izzet Boilerworks Karoo lands. They enter the battlefield tapped, and when they enter the battlefield, we return a land we control to our hand. These help us smooth out our mana base. We're only running 2 lands and we want to hit all of our land drops. We have 1 Radiant Fountain, which adds colorless, but when it enters the battlefield, it gains us 2 life. We can recur this with Ghostly Flicker to try to help keep us out of burn range. We have 9 snow-covered islands and 3 snow-covered swamps. They're covered in snow because of our spreads, and there's a lot of untapped lands so that we can hit our counterspells on time. And here's the sideboard. First, we have another Dispel for when our other counterspells are just a little bit too inefficient. We have 2 Hydroblasts for bringing in against all those red decks. We have 2 Electricaries for wiping away all those X ones, and we have another Flame Slash if our opponent's creatures are just a little bigger than we expect. We have 2 Razorfin Hunters, which are really cool. They can serve as a way for us to win the game, and they can also repeatedly take out X ones when we need them to. We have 1 Gorilla Shaman for blowing up all of Affinity's lands. We have 2 Relic of Progenituses to hate out the graveyards of Tron decks. We have 1 Serrated Arrows, maybe to shrink down something like a Stormbound Geist, and we have 4 Pyroblasts for countering our opponent's counters and blowing up their ninjas. And there you have it, Blue-Red Flicker, built by Janice Stone and taken to a top 4 finish in the Pauper Challenge by Kung Fu Trees. We're going to take this deck into a league at twitch.tv/AnyNewProvince. We're there every Monday night playing competitive Pauper decks. Before I go, I just want to remind you that you can like the video or subscribe to the channel down below. I'd seriously appreciate it. It's a great way to let me know you've enjoyed everything, and it really encourages me to keep making great Pauper content. While you're down there, you can click the link in the description to see Kung Fu Tree's deck tech or challenge replay of this deck. Thanks so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this deck tech, and hopefully I'll see you on Monday night.